You can keep talking there, Bob.
No, I was watching ABC News, the Australian news online, uh, because
Yep.
they everything that ABC has there, they also stream it, so you can watch it live. But I was watching because they actually cut it up into pieces for YouTube, and you can subscribe to it on
Okay.
YouTube and just catch the news stories, not the local weather and
Yeah. Yeah,
that
that's
type
that's what
stuff.
I do. Yeah, that's what I watch, Bob. I don't watch the actual news. I just watch the little bits they have on YouTube.
Me too.
Yeah.
And only if they interest me.
I watch shows at night that I've taped previously, and then you get the news highlights. Much better.
Yeah.
So I've been kicking this around the shed the last couple of weeks, couple of months even. It's just peppercorn. It's cracked as shit. Yes, I'll say that before I turn it over and show you. But shit happens.
Oh,
It's not too
that
bad.
could be
this stuff.
dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd be even touching
No.
that.
All right then. So I'll turn my camera off when I do it, and speakers so I don't have to listen to it. All right.
Well,
How
I
about that?
don't want you hurt.
Yeah, but it's a small piece. I've done so much cracked peppercorn. It's ridiculous, and I guess no one remembers any of that.
If
Go on,
one
Effie.
shatters, you will remember it all the way to the hospital. I know I've had 2 accidents with wood blowing up. One when I was younger and daring, and didn't think the cracks went that deep because I couldn't stick a pin in it deep. It would go in maybe 1/8 of an inch and not any deeper. So I felt, well, the crack doesn't go any deeper than that.
G'day, Effie.
All I
How
knew
are
was
you?
a piece of wood stuck in the ceiling.
I think we've all had a few pieces that fly apart occasionally.
Yeah, after that happened, I'm a big fan. I always put a second on-off switch on my lathes, even a little one, that pen light lathe, and one like Jay has. I've got that loaned out to a good friend of mine who's been locked in because of COVID. And it's interesting that I put a second switch on a magnetic box on the tailstock and with a cord, so you can move it around and have it close to wherever you want for turning it on and off. Because I think it's really stupid to put a switch in a position where you got to cross the line of fire to get to turn it off.
Yep.
Yeah, and it astounds me that all these people with remote switches always leave them on the headstock.
True.
Yeah,
Like I tried.
they haven't had something blow up, that's all. That's like people say, I can still drive a car. I haven't had that much to drink. But I'll tell you, after they've had their license suspended and paid fines and their insurance quadruple, they are more careful about what they drink and drive.
Not necessarily. There's still some that do it.
Oh yeah, but there's still some that'll put the switch on the headstock, even though it's got a long enough cable to protect you from it. An explosion. Some people just can't learn.
We know a whole club like that, don't we, Neil?
Just a few.
Are you two in the same
What
club?
was that?
Robo, you and Neil.
Robbo visits a lot of clubs. I'm the member of the club, although this is my final year. I won't be joining next year.
You going to start your own?
I've always had a sort of club here that everyone comes around and does stuff, but no official club as such.
You need to get better internet so you can do a club online.
Yeah. But I'm usually the one travelling around. Like Robbo, I travel around, if not more. Robbo tends to travel to somewhere and come straight home again, whereas I travel and don't come home.
Yeah, that was because we had workers in the place, you know.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen now, but that was Julie and my intention when she retired. However, COVID has put the kibosh on that.
Yeah, I'll say.
Like at the present time, I should be in South Australia.
Yeah, well, I should be in Western Australia at the moment, which is the only place that's not in lockdown.
Yeah.
Although Queensland's
That's
not
where
locked
Jay
down,
is?
No, that's where my daughter
Jay's-
is.
Oh, where's Jay?
South
South
Australia.
Australia.
South Australia. Okay. Well, I know the compass directions, but when you reference by direction, it's hard to vision how you divide the country. Is it divided like straight north, south, east, west lines through the middle?
Well, basically, you've got the eastern states, which is Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria and Tasmania. Or Tasmania is more a southern state. Then down the middle, you've got the Northern Territory and South Australia. And then over in the other half of the country, you've got Western Australia and the western side. So.
Oh, okay. So you can have a southwest and a northwest side or area too, in essence.
Oh, well, Queensland's north of Victoria and north of New South Wales. So.
But if you live in the middle, where are you then?
Well, South Australia or Northern Territory.
Yeah,
Okay.
Northern Territory is the middle.
Well, Alice Springs is virtually the centre of the country.
Yeah.
And that's in the Northern Territory.
Hmm.
Is the culture similar from the different territories?
No, it's not like England or America where everybody's parochial. Australians just about speak the whole language the same all over Australia. They do have little sayings that are parochial to their areas, but no, we can all understand each other.
But having said that, international people consider we do have different accents, which is interesting.
Oh, true.
Not that we can tell, but they can.
No. But it's not like England, for instance, where if you go across a county border, they just about speak a totally different language.
Yeah. But it's still English.
Oh, yeah. And then, of
But
course,
likewise in America, the ones from far south are totally different from the ones far north. So.
Oh, exactly, yeah. Like Boston and that speak almost English.
Yes. Proper English.
Yeah.
And they really push it in their schools to speak proper English, not slang.
And New York has that real Yankee twang to it, you know?
Yep. Until you get into northern New York and the countryside. Then it's all New England style. And from New Orleans, particularly, I don't know. It's more Cajun.
Yeah, good day, Michael. Yeah, your camera's very slow today, Jay. It's choppy.
I think I might call it a day and go make myself another cup of coffee. I really am falling asleep here.
All right, then. No
Catch you
worries,
guys
Neil.
later. Cheers.
Catch you. Bye.
Yep. Tomorrow.
And what phantasmagorical things are you up to, Mike, today or this morning? I think it's morning for you.
I'm not sure if you were listening or not when I did it before, but I said I'm on the laptop. I'm not on my normal computer, so everything runs slower.
Yeah.
I know it runs slower.
Ah, g'day, Shay. Midnight Scrolling is in. And Mike was saying that between Manchester and Liverpool or Wigan and Warrington, 4 different accents in about 60 miles. And Shay said, so glad I'm doing better. Yeah, I am doing a lot better, thanks, Shay. Thank you.
Where have you been turning other than your live the other day, Robo?
No. Business is very slow at the moment. And anyway, that's the way it is. Let's see, Mike says, spent far too long learning how to do something in Inkscape today, but refined my finger joint jig and new sprocket cutting jig. Now restoring a riveting hammer. No, I've just been reorganising the workshop a little bit and doing a little bit of maintenance on some of the equipment. And Shay said she's looking good, Jay. Just wanted to pop in and say hi. I'm off to bed. And Chris just came in. G'day, Chris. Now, Jay, I've got a question for you. Can you get 70 by 70 pine? It's got to be perfectly square.
No idea. I guess I have to have a look around. For what?
For maybe not this week, but for next week's tutorial thing.
If we don't have any medicine by then she won't be there.
Oh
Just,
yeah.
just that simple. She'll just be angry all the time. So.
All right. Unfortunately, I've got to love you and leave you. Lunch is ready, so I shall catch you all later.
See you later. Thanks for coming in.
All right. Hope you get your computer fixed up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take care, Robo.
All right. Thanks, Bob. See you later. See you, Chris. See you, Mike, and Effie she's in the background there.
You know, I got one of these smart watches that keeps track of your pulse and all sorts of other things, and it tattletales to a software app. Uh, it gets annoying because I just updated the software, and it said, "Would you like the type of verboseness?" Because the watch can actually, it can't talk, but it can actually send text messages to me on my phone, of which is handy because I use it to remind me when to take my meds, and it'll tell me on my phone as a text message. Except now I said I picked one of the personalities, so I got a text message that I'm suffocating. Please, I'm suffocating. And I want no more information, so I clicked yes, and it come up, my battery's almost dead. You're suffocating me. I can't send information to you. And it started a countdown timer from 99 to 0. So I wouldn't die. So the software has a good sense of humor. They call them smartwatches, but I don't want it. I don't know. Being a smart aleck watch is something else. I know I've got all the automated stuff that the VA has supplied me to do my blood pressure and all that stuff during the COVID bit, and it automatically uploads to my doctors at the VA hospital. I know because I used to, if I get my blood sugar off a little bit, not just one day, but 2 or 3 days, I get a nasty phone call. Or a text message first and then a phone call that I need to bring it down, as if I didn't know that. But at least they keep track of it. Turn your mic on, Jay, so we can hear what you're talking about, what you're doing.
Nothing. Just the noises of the dickheads around me.
Neighbors?
Just this one dude's got a motorbike and he seems to think he needs to sit outside and just rev it all day and not go anywhere. Just does my head in. Just I'll go over there and take away his bloody distributor cap or something just so he can't bloody start the thing.
But that
He doesn't
costs
do
money.
anything.
He must
just sits there
have
and
some
takes it.
serious money to pay gas.
Yeah. Something seriously wrong with him, I think.
Could be.
He does drive it. He does ride it, rather, but he sits there. It's just, I don't know. If it was a plane, fair enough. I wouldn't complain, but a motorbike.
I was reading a piece of an article about, because I used to have a pilot's license. I loved to fly, but it got to the point where I couldn't pass the physical. Old age. But it was interesting that per capita, more Australians have pilot's licenses than almost any country per capita. In New Zealand, I think per capita, kind of is the same way back and forth, and fairly close. And that really intrigued me because I would have thought things like some of the African countries would have it, but no. Evidently you've got enough people in the country that use planes to herd their cattle and to watch their livestock and to get to town because they're really rural. I saw a piece on that on ABC, on your ABC News, 6-7 months ago.
There's a couple of farmers that fly in Learjets and stuff every now and then.
You know they're making good money.
Yeah.
You like to fly, Jay?
No, remote control. If anything, remote control planes. Not. I like to keep my feet on the ground, other than having to go up to the second story.
Oh, so you've never flown, or just don't like to fly?
I've been in a plane. I've been interstate in a plane, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I prefer choppers over planes, if anything. But like the aerobatic ones and stuff. Certain people don't like that, so I just don't show it on the camera.
Well, the seasons should have just about started shifting, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has
Warming up
already.
a bit.
Yep. Days are getting longer. Would normally get dark the sun would be gone past the horizon about 5:30, 5:45. Now it's more like 6:30, 6:15, 6:30.
Uh-huh.
It's definitely a noticeable warmer too, because we're hitting 20s now instead of 10s and 11s.
So what is your lovely other half doing in arts and crafts now?
Absolutely nothing. Not a thing.
That's a shame. Her pyrography was fantastic.
She needs motivation to go with that pyrography, and she's none of that, so whatever.
Well, you need to find some way to sell your stuff and her stuff.
Oh,
And
we get
just knowing that
markets.
people will pay money for it is good incentive for the ego.
Yeah. We get money. We get markets to go to, but there's generally a couple of months in between.
Yeah.
The next one we've got lined up isn't till November. But there is another one coming up, but it's kind of like a sporadic one. They don't really mention it until about a month before they want to do it. So we'll just have to wait, see what happens there. That's the boot sale that I went to.
Yeah.
They said they were going to have another one, but they didn't say when.
You don't have a community store where you can sell your stuff at?
No, the one Sid sells his stuff at, he's actually in a rural town, a small town. I'm not in that. I'm in the burbs of the city, so a little bit different in that sense.
Yeah. Different style of community.
Yeah, definitely more of a community in a country town, as long as you get along with them.
And if you don't, you end up moving out anyway,
Yeah,
or coming around to being accepted. But no matter how it is in a small community, you still got people talking behind your back on anybody for any reason, just for the fun of being able to make themselves feel important because they think they know something, even though they
yeah,
don't.
yes.
I know it in a previous lifetime, back in the 70s, I was doing some work for a company, but I couldn't use my real name or anything.
Yep.
So I had a second identity. And that it was really a small town, like probably less than a kilometer long.
Yeah,
If
that's
that
small.
much. And that was from the first farmhouse to the last farmhouse.
Yep.
And, you know, but everybody knew everybody, and everybody thought they knew everybody's business.
Yes. I don't mind country towns, but it's that part that I don't like. If someone's, the local person that's spending too much time wondering what you're doing, here's you fart in the toilet. The whole town knows about it before you get off the toilet.
Oh yeah, and they always blame women, but men are just as bad.
Oh yeah, yes.
But we won't admit it. That's part of the code of ethics for manhood is not to admit you gossip.
Are the planes loud to you? Oh, we can't hear them.
No, I can't hear a plane.
Oh, okay. It's, we've been going crazy today. No, you have that days when there's only a couple planes out. It's a good day, I suppose. Like on good days too around here. If you got a hot rod or a Harley, nice Harley or something, you take it out for a drive, or a ride.
Yeah.
On a nice day. I suppose plane pilots like to do the same thing.
Yep. As long as the fuel is cheap enough for the budget that you have. That was always my problem. You still have tack time that you pay for, on the tachometer,
Yep.
how many hours and minutes, and you get billed by that, not by how many miles or kilometers you fly. It's how much engine time that you've got.
Oh, okay. Now they got a beach here. Can't remember the name of it. Moana? No, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. It's got the longest tide. The army used to use it to test their weapons because they could retrieve the shells because the tide goes out so goddamn far.
Ah,
Like a couple of Ks even.
wow.
I'll see if I can find it. Yeah, they do a lot of. They take the trainer pilots over there, just in case you've got somewhere to land.
Yeah, I know in Alaska,
also,
Anchorage has a really, really big tide difference there in Alaska, and it's right on the ocean. And then there's, I can't think of it. We have another big tide difference here in North America.
Yep.
But I've seen in Alaska on the ocean side fishing boats, big fishing boats, just high and dry, when the tide's out.
Yep.
And what gets me is that the tide is tied to the pull of gravity from the moon.
Yeah. Strange, isn't it? Very strange.
It's hard to sit back and look at it and say there's no gravity. The moon's not pulling anything up. The kid's balloon doesn't go faster and when the moon is the closest to the Earth.
Yep.
But that's not a gravity pulling. It's a lighter gas that's causing the balloon to rise.
Yeah.
But its gravity is very noticeable. Earthquakes in Alaska.
I can't find it. It's not what I want.
I wouldn't. It doesn't surprise me about the earthquakes in Alaska,
Who said that?
especially out in the Aleutian Islands.
Come on, Mike. You're a rational thinking man. What do you think it is? It could be man doing something, or all of a sudden they got earthquakes where they don't have earthquakes.
Well, we are having a serious shift in weather.
Yeah, we
screwed up the air. We've screwed up our global weather system.
Yep. It'll stop them cows from farting.
I have a good friend of mine that does a lot of work in China. He's an educator, and he works typically with exchange student programs, of which there hasn't been any since the pandemic. But they've had a serious change where areas in China has just had it gets dark earlier than ever before. And a lot of it is pollution in the air that is kind of in a big valley that it wants to settle in. And in doing so several communities just get dark earlier. But
Yep.
it's getting worse and worse. But Chinese news won't report it because they're perfect. But they end up with dirt and soot and stuff from coal-fired fireplaces and stuff on their big shiny new buildings. So they're getting upset, making people get out and polish the buildings to take the soot off of the buildings from the fires. And they have the problem where a lot of the homes outside the big city, they heat and cook with coal and wood. And all that seems to, because of the air pressure and the stagnancy of some of the air, it just tends to stick to it on some of their new buildings that they put in as showpieces. And they're metal buildings, and they ground the building, and then anything will stick to it.
Yep. Bloody Asians, they like to have the perfect, don't they? But they don't want anyone to see the ugly when it's there.
Hey, how many times do people who have a beer belly kind of tuck a shirt in and suck it in when they're meeting people? That's human nature.
I'll push it out further.
Yeah, some people are proud of their beer belly because it took a lot of work to get it.
Yeah. There's a
Or
lot of
the other
killing
answer is,
yeah.
you know, my wife's a great cook and I can't help it. That way you blamed your wife for it.
Yeah, that could
I
work.
know.
Oh, yeah. I think it might be time to buy a new banjo. I'm over this piece of shit.
Well, I'll tell you how to fix it.
Yeah, throw it in the bin.
If you get bored someday, slide the tailstock off and slide the banjo off and turn it upside down. And clean the bottom and where the sides are that ride on the bedway. If you have to file them down or sand them down with some super heavy grit sandpaper, take and smooth the bottom of the banjo off so it slides better. But the big thing is the locking system where your handle is, it's just pulling a nut up and down to tighten it. And often that can get out of adjustment. So, and it's an easy fix. All you have to do is look at it and you know how to fix it quickly. But I know I've had to do mine like yours 2 or 3 times because it just doesn't hold stuff.
Just gets to the edge, too far off the edge, and just will not grab. Put it in a little bit, grabs fine.
It's holding up better than I thought it would, Jay.
Yeah, I knew it would be all right because I've turned plenty of it and none of it's really it's rather stable.
Yeah, yeah. You got some good comments. You need to sell something so you can get a new bowl gouge.
Yeah.
But you're being frugal, and I think that's good. You don't need the long leverage.
Don't you like this one, Mike? Would you prefer I used this one? Eh? Mike, come on. I think I'm using the right one. I don't know about you, Mike, but
You can always buy one and have it shipped to Jay. If you do it through Amazon, it's really easy. You just give it an Australian shipping address, and then they pull it from the warehouse in Australia.
he liked the other one better, Bob. Yo! Don't be like that.
Yeah, I saw that fly, or at least the shadow of it.
A better left-hand controller than a right-hand controller. I always manage to go off the bevel just that little bit with my right hand controlling the tool for some reason. Doing that
Yeah, it
part.
just takes practice.
Much better left-handed. I'm left-handed when I type anyway, so.
That means you're right brain.
That means what?
you're right-brained.
Yeah,
You
That's
use the
right.
right side of your brain more. If
I'm
you favor
right-minded.
your left hand, you're right-brained and vice versa.
Yeah, I had a sticker once that said, if the left hand of the brain controls the right hand of the body, and the right hand of the brain controls the left hand of the body, then left-handed people are in their right minds.
Yes, they are.
Quite literally.
What intrigued me is when I heard that, and I was young, I mean, in my 20s, and you know, a college professor brought that up, and somebody else was talking about that later, and I said, well, does that mean you hang on the right or the left also? And and girls didn't get it, but guys did. And you watched them check their pants to see. And it was kind of funny to see the reaction and looking. No, I've never paid attention to that.
Bloody whackers.
Now that's how to do business, I'll tell you. Trade.
What's that? Had to buy that vineyard knife if you don't have a bank account. Ask Mike about his vineyard, Bob. So, as it turns out, this other lathe that I'm going to get from Robbo whenever I can get over there actually fits in my car.
Wow. You got a
So-
back seat that expands the trunk if you need to.
Yeah. This pretty much never gets put up. It always gets left down. That's how much we use it. So I went and I haven't measured it yet, but it is about 1.8 to 1.9 meters long in the back there, and the lathe bed is I think Robbo said it was 1.8 or something, so it'll just fit. But there'll be no one in the passenger seat, so I can slide the passenger seat forward, have a bit more room.
Yeah. And you got all the rest of the stuff that goes with it too, the legs and
Yeah,
braces and whatever tools and stuff that he wants to give you for it, and the controller.
Yeah.
So it'll be a car full. How long a drive is
Yeah.
it, the Robos from your place?
with nothing in the car, about 9 hours. And then the lathe weighs 350 kilos. And I weigh about 150 kilos.
So your gas mileage is going to stink.
Yeah, for sure.
And the
And time-
acceleration's going to not be there, but stopping
Nope.
power, that won't be there either.
No, I've got it's a 6-speed manual, so I've got the gears to slow me down a little bit too.
Ah,
And
okay.
take off. So,
I have never driven a 6-speed manual in a car. I've had
No.
them in trucks, but never cars.
now this car was actually based around their rally car at the time. So it's got
Ah.
like So the gear stick isn't low to the ground like most cars. It's up really high. It's pretty much up where the radio is. But you can just grab it and change gears like that instead of having to reach down for it.
Yeah.
It's one thing that I kind of liked about it, to be honest. I've got a bad back, and it's wouldn't be doing my back any favors, reaching down there for a little stick. It used to be the food van for my charity, you see. So I used to fill it with about 200 or 300 kilos worth of food and drinks and stuff anyway. So I know how to maximize spaces and fill them properly.
That's called a Loadmaster.
Yeah. No, where's this place where we used to go get the food from? They'd know us, and they'd go, You're not going to get that in your little car, mate." I was like, "Yeah, watch me." Every time. I don't be like that, Mike. Bloody hell. Are you in John's live, Mike? What's he making? Is that what he was doing? Oh, you're not in there. Okay. Fair enough. So that's John Wood, if I could, Bob, that's got a live going at the moment. Generally has one going at about the same time as me.
Yeah.
At least you're in the real wood turning and the real wood working anyway, Mike. Hey? Have you got monitor moderator rights in here, Mike? If you have, you can put the link in. If you haven't, I'll go and make you a
Oh,
moderator.
I
so
already
you-
posted it earlier when
Oh, okay.
Robo left.
Okay. Oh no, I meant the link. The guy that Mike's talking about.
Oh, okay.
All right, you can do it, Mike. Not There you go, Bob.
Ah, okay.
What does he do?
He restores old vintage radios.
Okay.
They're mostly their cases and that. I don't know about the electronic side, but the cases. I follow a couple of YouTube people here in the States and one in England that restores old radios, old
Yep.
electronic equipment. And I sit and look at it and I say, old? That's what I was using when I was a kid. And I did that one day. Well, Brendan was here watching me, and I used to have that. Now, I built that as a kid. And then he looked at me but that was what, 100 years ago when you were a little kid? I'm not that old. He says, but 3/4 there.
Yep.
That's
I've
pretty
got a
bad when
radio.
you can say you're 3/4 of 100 years old.
Yeah. I got an old radio inside that I found when I was doing my food charity. It was just sitting on the side of it was actually just sitting in a car park, like someone had just dumped it there.
Yeah.
It's got, I think it's got a couple of valves in it, I think, but it's a decent size. It's about that long, and it's just a radio.
Yeah.
I'll go grab it next live, and I'll show you some. I've never.
Well, most of the tubes or valves, as you call them, the Brits do too. There are companies, mostly in Russia, that make the old tubes, and they sell them all over the world. So you can get replacement tubes for a lot of the old equipment.
I'll just go to my uncle's house. He's got a Radio Shack, and that's what he specializes in, making radios out of the tubes and stuff. So,
Oh, that's a lost art.
yeah. He's been into it his whole life, pretty much. Tinkered with electronics and then got into the tube radios and stuff.
Well, as a teenager, like even 12, I built a radio kit. We had a company called Heathkit at the time, and you could buy kits. And they actually had step-by-step instructions and all the parts and plenty of pictures. Most of them were drawings of where the parts go. And I've built 11 different Heathkit projects. The biggest of all was a TV set.
Bloody hell. That wouldn't have been cheap.
No.
I don't know, Mike, to be honest. I kept it in it.
Yeah.
You was supposed to be reading, Mike.
I'm surprised your lovely half hasn't had your lunch ready for you yet. It's overdue.
I shouldn't do that anymore.
I must say the stuff that you turn does have good character to it.
Yeah, I try and pick shitty pieces. Pieces that people wouldn't normally turn.
Well, the thing is, it's Mother Nature. You're just taking what Mother Nature has given and you create something out of it directly.
Yep.
You see something in what most people would throw in the fireplace or the wood burner.
Yes. I wonder if that's why Robbo left so quickly today.
No, it's just everybody has their own. Well, you have a style, and then you've got a technique, and technique, of course, is what allows you to use the tool safely.
Yep.
And also how you build jigs and whatever you need to get your work done, because you see something that you're creating. I dated a woman for years, and she was an artist. Never date an artist. You never get anywhere other than going to their shows. Not to be rude about it, but that's about what it was. But it was fun. And
Yep.
She started off doing clay. And then she went from molding and modeling clay to throwing bowls and having it, so she could spin bowls on a wheel. And then that was interesting. And then she went back to molding some clay again, but someone else that she had met turned her on to glass blowing.
Oh, yeah.
So she does a lot of the stuff she did in clay, she's doing duplicating and stuff in glass. The
Yep.
last I saw her, she was busy demonstrating glass blowing for a museum for people.
Oh, yeah.
Showing how it was done and how they used to do stuff. And she had like 2 or 3 apprentices in training. You don't
Yep.
pay apprentices because they're earning an apprenticeship. But they were in a museum, an outdoor part of the museum during the summer months. In the winter, they were indoors and had their little glass blowing section separate. So people
Yep.
could see how people used to make bowls and glassware and serving dishes, because wooden was for poverty people. That was a different crust of people or class. But glass was different. And then the fancier the glass, the higher falutin the people were. And she would go through the whole history, and she could start off, and she had 1-day programs where she'd bring kids into, and they supplied lunches for the kids as part of the summer camp type program. And she would start off with and they had treadle wheels for the kids, two kids to a wheel for, doing
Yep.
pottery. They'd start molding one, and they'd do the mold ones, by hand shaping something. And then after lunch, they went to using the pottery wheel where they had to turn it with their foot, which was a trick in itself. So one person would be turning it, and the other person would be handling the clay. But she could find art and beauty in everything she did and everything that the kids did. And she bragged about it, and she would make suggestions that and the kids took home really nice stuff to their kids, parents, and that worked well because she had a waiting list for kids to attend, and it was the only one that the museum had that had a waiting list of all the different presenters. Then she was so involved in that she forgot who I was.
How rude.
Oh, but she was in seventh heaven, and she ended up going out with one of the people that she was teaching glass blowing to, so they had something in common. And she got into tile making. So, with the same thing, it's a pottery type thing, but it's flat. And that's what she called it, and making tiles and then putting them in a kiln to bake. But she runs the whole thing. Now with COVID, that section's closed, but it's a big outdoor, and then in the winter, an indoor program that's run, in Jackson, Michigan. It's part of a museum there, hands-on museum for kids.
They have hands-on stuff here in the museums, but it's not the whole museum.
Well, this was an outdoor one, and they actually met in an old cabins and an old barn that had been beefed up and converted to the part of the museum and shed and shop where she worked. And they had a bunch of old schoolhouse and an old set of they brought in all the old buildings, and they put them in this one big farmer's field there, and they made a outdoor living museum, they called it.
Yeah.
And we had volunteers come and do sewing on a treadle, machine where you had to pump it with your feet, and they always had spinning wheels, and and somebody would have a big wheel going, and people would, how do you do that? Well, here's another wheel, let me show you. And she'd get up and then get them going on a wheel too. And it was all hands-on, encouraging people to hands-on and try it. And that place was always packed. And then she lost time for me.
Yep.
I got jilted by a glass, a glass furnace.
Couldn't stand the heat, eh?
Oh God, you made my soda go up my nose.
That's funny.
You got me laughing just at that point.
And it's on camera too. And it's on camera. Well done. Excellent.
Yes, well done. Oh, that really tingles and hurts the nose.
Yeah, it's not the best feeling, is it? You guys got a lolly there called Fruit Tingles?
Yes, since I don't eat candies and stuff, it has to be sugar free, but I've seen the kids have them.
Yeah, that's what I used to say when that used to happen with the fizzy up the nose. I'd say it's like a fruit tingle being shoved up your nose, because they're basically just a tablet of sherbet.
Yeah.
It would not be pleasant. Sherbet up the nose.
No. Yeah, I got a heat gun last year as a present, and it was rated at 300 and 600. And I never
What's
could
that?
get the 600 watt to work. So I got
Maybe it's
tired about 6 weeks ago and called the manufacturer. Had their
Yep.
phone number on the packaging. And they said, well, that model does 600 and 220. It only worked in the dual voltage, in the dual temperature, if you have 240 volts.
Oh,
Huh?
okay.
And they're selling into the U.S. market. And I said, well, what do I need to convert it to 240? Oh, if you open it up, you'll find that there's a little jumper, and it says something like 110 and 220 or 240, and you simply put the jumper between the two posts and they're screwed in place when you do it.
Yep.
And I said, is that all? Well, you have to change the plug to fit your outlet that you have. So I changed it because I got 220 for my lathe, or 240. Yep. So I put it on 240, and now I get the 600 watt.
Bit faster, is it? I mean,
well,
a bit
it's just
stronger.
hotter. Oh yeah, it's a lot hotter. But I find I really don't, after I converted it and switched it, I should say, I found that I have to hold it farther away so I don't buckle the wood or dry it too quick.
Oh yeah.
So
yep.
When I think of it, before I pick it up to use it again, I'll probably unscrew the handle on the side of the handle, and move the jumper over.
Yep. Yes. It gets a tad hotter, wouldn't it? Like double the heat, rather.
Yes. And it gets hotter to handle too.
Yeah.
And you know it, you just don't, turn around and look inside to see if the heating element's there, because you'd sunburn your face.
Yes.
Don't ask me how I know. I made that mistake to see, is it really too lit up in there? And oh boy, did I ever. It's like if you, as kids, we had a neighbor that had a fence and had big wooden fence and had knot holes in it. And everybody wondered, and there was all sorts of stories that he was making moonshine in his backyard. And, and what was he doing back there all the time? You could hear stuff going on and pounding. And there was a knot in the fence, and kids would come up and spy through the knot, and he'd get a water gun, and as soon as he heard you, he'd go squirt you in the eye with the water pistol. So we kept carrying water pistols with us, and we'd see them, and we'd pump the gun up, and aim it through the hole and squirt him back. And by the time he got a step stool out so he could look over the top of the fence, none of us were there. I mean, this is like 6, 7, 8 years old, 10 years old.
Yep. Hooligans.
Yeah, well, according to my father, he made his own moonshine. If you're familiar with the term.
Yeah. Yep.
So he had a big wooden fence around the yard so as people couldn't see it, so they wouldn't call the police.
Yep.
And he'd cover up the fact of having a fire going in the yard, because he also had a nice big barbecue in the yard, brick barbecue with big burner, 2 levels, and that was the cover up for the still having a still going.
Yep. Yes. I never had those problems here with alcohol being outlawed, but
Well, in some parts of the country, you can still make your own, but you've got to file for a license, but you can't
Yeah.
sell it.
Yeah.
And the only reason for the license is for an inspector to make sure what you're making isn't going to kill you.
yeah. Gonna land on my roof, that one.
Yeah.
Sucks it up like a sponge.
Yeah, it was dry wood.
It's very punky. I turn the piece around. I was like, I swear I've just put some there. But all right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting a little bit peckish now. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon here. I've been going for 2 hours. I might knock it on the head, I think.
Yeah, an hour and 40 some odd minutes, but that's only live time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's 11:30 here, so at night.
All right. Thank you very much for coming in, Bob.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It makes my day.
I'll
Take care.
I'll
bud.
all right. No worries. Have a good day tomorrow.
Yep, I'm looking forward to seeing the finished thing when you get it off the lathe.
Yeah.
That has such great character in it. That's something that'll sell well. Believe me.
It's it's
It's the
bolted.
Back to Nature series.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So if you add a name to it like that, when you put price tags on them, they're going to buy them. Because that's what it is. Handcrafted Back to Nature series, part of your Back to Nature series, bowl and dishes.
All right. Well, okay, it is. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Effie. Take it easy. Have a good night, Bob.